Hello everyone, today is 23rd of January. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, today the 23rd January is also the birth anniversary of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the man who doesn't need any introduction, one of the most prolific freedom fighter, the revolutionary thinker. He says, one individual may die, but that idea will after his death incarnate itself in a thousand lives. Guys, the Subhash Chandra Bose idea is that the person should not live for his own achievement, rather, a person should live for an idea. He should live by an ideology and should create that ideology as a legacy which will be followed by the generations to come. Now, guys, today when we talk about the Gandhianism, today we talk about the Kantianism, what all these are the ideologies, and today the people are finding these ideologies as one which shows the path for an ethical and enlightened living. So, guys, this is all about this particular quote. Please do utilize it in your essays as well as in your GS paper number 4 ethics. So, guys, that is all. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and this article we can utilize into the paper of GS paper number 2 as well as in GS paper number 4. Now, guys, here the judiciary has made an observation with respect to the role that is being played by the media into the trials that are underway. Now, guys, when we are talking about the justice, there is one of the golden rule of justice, that is the presumption of innocence of a person until proved guilty. Now, any person who has been charged for a crime, he is under trial up till the point he is not convicted, and into this particular time he needs to be given all the rights which are available to a free citizen, that is the right to have dignity, the right to have reputation, the right to be heard freely. Now, such kind of right actually is being destroyed by the media trials, where the media runs the vicious media campaign and is maligning the image of certain individuals. Now, this particular thing has been observed into the aftermath of the Northeast Delhi riots that happened. Guys, here some of the communities were selectively targeted, and some of the individuals, even without finding adequate proof of them involving into the riots, they were cherry picked and their image was maligned. And the similar thing also happened into the aftermath of that suicide of the Bollywood actor Sushant Singh Rajput. There also into the narcotics and all such kind of things, without having the substantial proofs, there were some of the actors and actresses which were dragged. Now, it has been here again observed by the judiciary that when we talk about media, media is supposed to be the fourth estate into the democracy, and therefore the media ethics becomes very much important into the media. And therefore, guys, when media are taking these media trials, it erodes this presumption of innocence because they convict a person even before the judiciary has given its trial. So, into this particular direction, guys, there is a case that the self regulation of media, which was always imposed that it needs to be the principle and media itself will be taking up a responsible path, has been failed. And friends, this particular thing is bringing its own problem. If we recognize that this particular thing has failed and we impose a code of regulation onto the media, then it will be called as the violation of article number 19, where the freedom of media has been talked about. And guys, if we don't impose any regulation, then the same media trials, same hate mongering, scandal mongering, yellow page journalism will be going on, and it will be eroding the people's reputation. So a kind of a sticky situation has been prevailed, and guys, only way out of this thing is that media itself should take up the responsibility and should follow the media ethics. Now, guys, media ethics is dependent on some of the principles, which is first truth and accuracy, second independence, third fairness and impartiality, fourth humanity, and fifth accountability. So all these principles are needed to be kept in mind before taking up any media trial and all such kind of incidences. So, guys, that is all, and we can utilize this particular dimension into our GS paper number 4 under the topic number 1, applied ethics. So, guys, that is all, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the issues related with the census. Now, guys, this particular article will be important under GS paper number 1, where the population and related issues have been mentioned. Now, when we are talking about, guys, about any country, the census plays a very important role. For example, the census tells the dynamics of the population, that is, how many people are having the accessibility of the basic resources, how many people are excluded, what more interventions are needed onto the part of the government. It basically tells government that whether the government has been successful in the policies which have been taken up till now. If not, then what more is to be done? And into this particular direction, guys, India is having a very rich history of the census. Since 1881, the regular census for the entire country, they are being taken up. However, guys, when we talk about the census, then according to Census Commissioner, which was in 1940, W.W.M. Yeats, he himself had said that the census is a powerful tool, but it has turned blunt. It is not capturing the entire details with respect to the connection between the population and the caste. Now, into this particular direction, guys, to capture the entire picture, we came out with the socio-economic caste census of 2011, which was distinct from the regular census, and it was just taken up to map the inequalities which are existing in country. Guys, it has been said that the social profile of a person or the caste of a person is a determining factor in determining the accessibility of the resources that a person will be having. So therefore, into the socioeconomic caste census, it was decided that according to the different caste, their social economic accessibility will be recognized. However, it has been said that the socioeconomic caste census has also some of the shortcomings. First of all, it has been said that it was realized that when such kind of census will be taken out and the reports will be published, it will further harden the caste identity, the caste division, the caste based differences that are existing in India, and therefore further it will be dividing the people. Then it was said that there is also a practical problem, that how to actually capture the inequalities that are existing between the caste and population, how that particular thing will be enumerated onto statistical front. Also, there will be a difficulty in capturing such data. Then thirdly, it has been said that when we are talking about the caste, it is a very complex institution, and the connections between the caste and day-to-day condition of a person, it is manifested at many levels, and simply by a kind of a survey, we cannot capture the caste realities in India. Then, guys, thirdly, after that, it was said that there is another problem also, that when we are taking or talking about the census, it is carried under the Census Act of 1948, and all the data is confidential. However, when we are talking about socio-economic caste census, basically it will be an open database. Guys, the purpose of the socio-economic caste census is that people will be identified onto the basis of their caste, what deprivations they are having, and whenever the government is coming out with any scheme, they can see that okay, these are the deprived people, and only specifically those people can be targeted. So therefore, specifically the open database has been kept out. But such kind of database could be misused also. There could be the erosion of the privacy of the people also. So therefore, the socio-economic caste census has been criticized by these particular viewpoints. So it has been said that we need a better roadmap for the future. Rather than appointing entirely a new census, we need to see that how the existing tools can be curated and can be made much more effective. So therefore, it has been said that rather than going for collecting new census data, government needs to see that how already existing caste data has been utilized by the different governments, different departments, in order to give the benefits, in order to withdraw the benefit, and need to see that what net effect already has been made. Moreover, it has been said that government needs to connect the census data which is collecting with the larger data sets, such as the data being collected by the National Sample Survey, National Family Health Survey, and all such kind of things. And broader themes are needed to be designed. Now, this particular linking has not been a new thing and has been suggested by various scholars also into the past. And then, guys, it has been said that the census also needs to keep in mind the time lag that is being there. Always, it has been seen that the time that the census is collecting and the point when the data is being released, there is a huge gap. And into this particular thing, many of the things that do change. So, therefore, now we need to work that how in effective less time such kind of data can also be released. And here, into the case study, we can point that, guys, SCCC caste census was planned in 2011. Now the 10 years have been passed, and even till now large number of data has not been released. So guys, these are some of the suggestions which have been given into this particular direction. I hope that you have been able to understand all such kind of things, and please do keep all it into your mind. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the recent fire incident that happened into the Serum Institute of India. And guys, this particular topic can be utilized as an example of industrial hazard into the GS paper number 3 under the topic of the disaster management. Now, you might have seen or earlier into the news also that the fire broke out into the Serum Institute, and here many of the workers, the 5 workers, have died, and there has been the huge loss on account of the expensive machinery which has been destroyed. Now, guys, it has been said, particularly when we are talking about the facilities such as the SII, they are the institute of global importance. First of all, guys, the Serum Institute is the largest manufacturer of the vaccines, not only for the COVID but for the other diseases also. And guys, today the Serum Institute's importance we can gauge from the fact that A, it is providing the vaccine for India, and secondly, the Serum Institute is also the partner under the COVAX facility. Now, the COVAX facility is being spearheaded by the Gavi as well as CEPI, where the poor countries, underdeveloped countries, they will be provided the vaccine. And guys, into that particular thing, the major chunk of vaccine will be procured by the Serum Institute. So today this institute is holding so much of importance, and such instances such as the fire safety and all such kind of things are needed to be taken up with the utmost concern. So therefore, guys, here a reference has been given, that is the WHO model for guidance for the pharma units. Now it has provided some of the precautions that are needed to be taken by the pharmaceutical units against the industrial hazards. Here it has been said that there needs to be there needs to be a site security, automatic fire detection system, mechanical or manual ventilation system, sprinkler system, fire drills at the regular intervals need to be there. And also it has been said that the safety needs to be there during the construction and operation. But guys, often due to the cost factor, these particular things are not taken seriously, and if they will not be taken seriously, such incidents will be happening. So guys, this is a kind of a brief update into this particular regard. Now if you are writing the questions, then guys, here such kind of one reference you can provide in your answers. So that is all into this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the India's new draft Arctic policy that has been released. Now, this article will be important for your prelims examination as well as into GS paper number 3. So, friends, here we can see that India has released its draft Arctic policy, which is carrying a kind of a roadmap that how India will be carrying the scientific research, sustainable tourism, and mineral oil and gas exploration into the Arctic region. Now, this particular policy will be providing a kind of a detailed roadmap for India to follow. Now, into this particular direction, the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, which is situated into the Goa, will be taking up the lead role into the scientific research. And it will be collaborating the earth sciences, biological sciences, geosciences, climate change, and space related programs in one integrated program, and will be taking up the initiative. Now, guys, when we talk about the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, it is under the Ministry of Earth Sciences, and guys, it is the institution which is responsible in the management of the Matri and Bharti bases, which are located into the Antarctica, as well as the Himadri base, which is located into the Arctic. So, guys, the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research is an important institution. Please keep this particular thing into your mind with respect to your prelims also, as such kind of information is often asked. So guys, right now it is a draft policy and it has been open to the public comments, and if it will be finalized into the time soon, we will again be seeing the final version. However, for now you can use it as a reference that how India is considering the Arctic region as also an expanded arm for the strategic concern, and had prepared the policy also. So guys, that is all about this particular article, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu, and it is a brief update with respect to the Cambridge Analytica case or the scandal which had happened. So, guys, you might be knowing already that in 2016, the charge was made that the Facebook and the Cambridge Analytica, they have harvested the sensitive private information of the people and had created the psychological profiles, and onto that particular basis, they had tried to influence the American elections. So it is being then said that the Cambridge Analytica had also harvested the information of the Indian citizens also, and might have influenced the Indian elections also. And into this particular respect, now the CBI has booked the Cambridge Analytica and one of the other firm, that is the Global Science Research Limited. Now, guys, you don't need to go into the nitty-gritties of this particular detail. However, we can use this particular thing as a passing reference that how now the cyber related threats are are becoming even more dangerous. Guys, it has been said that the personal data of nearly 5.62 lakh Indian users were taken up. And if this particular sensitive information is being taken up, then guys, into the future, such information can be again used to create the psychological profiles of the people, and they can be influenced, they could be indoctrinated for one particular ideology. And therefore, guys, we can see that today these search engines, these social medias, they are posing a very big challenge, and therefore government needs to be prepared to deal with such phenomena. So guys, that is all. Please don't go into the nitty gritties of this particular case, as then it will not be important for your exam. So that is all. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the Reserve Bank of India is proposing the scale based regulation of the NBFCs, that is, the non banking financial companies. Now, guys, into the past few days, we have seen that the NBFCs has been called as they are under a very severe risk that is there, because, guys, they have given money to the many of the businesses who are now into the losses, and they might default onto such kind of payments. So therefore, now the Reserve Bank of India is saying that a kind of a scale based regulatory regime is needed. Here it has been said that a four layer regulatory structure will be made. One will be the base layer, then there will be the medium layer, then there will be the upper layer, and then there will be the top layer. So into this particular thing, all the NBFCs will be classified, and at the different levels, different regulatory conditions will be applied to them. So here we can see that at the bottom of this particular pyramid, there will be the NBFCs which will require the least intervention, and they are the non-systemically important NBFCs. They consist the non-deposit taking NBFCs and PFCs which are involved into the peer-to-peer lending platform, and all such kind of NBFCs. Then, guys, there will be the next layer which will comprise the systemically important NBFCs. They take the deposit, and they will be very strongly regulated. After that, there will be other category also, that is the systemically significant NBFCs, and they will be even more tightly regulated. And into this particular way, guys, the layered structure has been promoted by the RBI. However, this particular policy has not been finalized, and it is just a discussion paper which will be finalized into the times to come. So guys, we can use that how the RBI is now regulating the financial sector and is making sure that every possible attempt is given so that the resurgence of the financial sector can be maintained. You guys don't need to go into the nitty gritties as how as every level of the NBFC will be regulated. Just you need to keep such kind of tier system that has been suggested, and we can provide it into our answers that what RBI is doing so that the quantum of NPAs and the quantum of the bad loans don't increase in India. So guys, just that's all into this particular direction. So friends, that is for the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you are understanding and you are liking this particular initiative. Thank you so much.